Hello and welcome back to the main channel. Today we're discussing the differences between Doctor Who Unleashed and Doctor Who Confidential. This will look back at Confidential, but I am going to be talking about the differences between Confidential and Unleashed, because I feel like even though they are essentially the essence of the same programme, I do feel like there's a few bits missing from one that's in the other. So, Confidential is a programme that I'm currently rewatching on the BBC iPlayer. The cut down versions were available on iTunes, and I think the DVDs had a few versions of it. It's like a night. I'm surprised that the BBC iPlayer got the rights to it all, because there is a lot of licensed bass music from those years that Confidential was around, and so it must have been an absolute nightmare to get all the rights. So Confidential had a voiceover for a host, which worked in elements where if they needed a VT it worked really well, like a behind the scenes clips they run in archive footage to explain a creature or explain something that works really well. If I was going to a tally chart where I tallied the differences, the improvements of Unleashed to what Confidential didn't do, I think the in-person host is a bonus. It's a 1.4 1.4 Unleashed. The reason why in-person host works is because instead of the camera crew just having a conversation with X, Y and Z, it meant that the host could get a personal connection with that. We can see the host trying out these props. There's a lot more to it. So the work experience, which I'll always say is the best bit of Unleashed. I'll never say anything different. But the there's a reason why. But the work experience section, which is what Confidential was missing, and the reason why Unleashed. And I'll get onto the name bit in a minute, but because there's a reason why it's a new name, and my theory on that is fascinating. But anyway, we also need to auto declassified on the iPlayer as well, if possible, please, the BBC. Anyway, back to it. So, I need to stop saying the word so and now. So, yeah, let's attempt to do that in this video. When you look at the work experience segment in Unleashed, you see that Stephen Powell is trying to make it as fun, entertaining and educational possible. So he might have fun doing this job and he might lark about, but he's also trying to demonstrate what the job actually does on a hands-on section. Not just asking the person what their job is, what they do, what they've done. It's like, this is what they done and have done, but here's how it works as an amateur. Here's what an amateur would do. Here's if you want to do this job, this is where you go. And I think that Unleashed is more of a, here's how you get into the industry. Like, not here's how you get into it, but here is the industry. Here are the different jobs within the industry. And here's how this person got that job, so you can try and do it in a similar method if you want that job. So with Confidential it's more, here's how the show is made. Here's the assistant director having a conversation about what they're doing. Not really here's how incredible detail of how it was made. So I do think that if we were tallying it up, if you're doing it in a point system, Unleashed would win. Because when you look back at Confidential, the bit that for me ruins it ever so slightly is that they don't have a consistent host ever. Well, I say ever, I mean that if you watch multiple series of it in one go, you get a different voiceover presenter halfway through. Like, in the middle of the run. and Anthony Head then sticks with it for a bit. So I do think that that element of voiceover, talking, having some cast member conversation about it, it works. But I do think that Unleashed, when you have a look back at what Confidential achieved compared to what other programmes at that time were achieving, I think this is a triumph, because we all know that Russell T Davies is very, very public and vocal, which is good, because it means that we know who he is. He's got this influence that said, yes, I want to do Doctor Who, but I want to do a behind the scenes show that people watching this can learn how it's made and then can get inspired by it. Because Doctor Who, I know this has probably been said once, twice, 4, 5 billion times, but Doctor Who is a very, very inspirational programme. Doctor Who, I think Blue Peter's on the same line as this. I'm going to mention it because Doctor Who and Blue Peter are like best friends. Oh yeah, I'm going to make a video reviewing something that adds on to that, but we're going to review it in a weird way. What I mean by that is that at the end of this video I talk about that, but what I mean by that is that you'll find out at the end. So Doctor Who is, I was trying to find a word other than the word I'm trying not to say. So Doctor Who in its revival tenure has had a lot of people work on the show, either in front of the camera, behind the camera, or way behind the camera, like the ones that never really make it to set. Majority were all inspired by Doctor Who. So the people that weren't could probably tell you another programme that inspired them, because TV is an inspiring thing. For people that want to get into radio is inspiring to them, and I think that the whole inspirational aspect of these things makes it more unique in that sense. You can say that not only working on Doctor Who is what these people do that are inspired by Doctor Who, me included. We want to work on other things. So, as for instance, John Culshaw, who has since worked on the audio world of Doctor Who, works on the radio and television versions of their sketch show Dead Ringers, or political sketch show Dead Ringers. He's even done a load of Doctor Who based sketches. Crystal D is a Doctor Who fan, and they were inspired by Doctor Who, and they got Doctor Who the Fan Show, they got the first series of Doctor Who podcast, and so that inspiration came from a distance, because Crystal used to do Doctor Who YouTube like I am, and it means that there's ways into the industry through a love of Doctor Who, which is incredible. And I think that Confidential, to link it back to the mentioned subject, I think Confidential is one of those programmes that's like, they know the Doctor Who has inspired a whole generation of actors, writers, directors, runners, producers, special effect artists, makeup artists, creature designers, all the other jobs that I've not mentioned that are in that list. And they wanted to say, look, these have been inspired by this programme we're making, they're working on, let's do behind the scenes show. And Confidential is just the love of it. Now, on the other side of the spectrum of inspiration, which is where we're at, Unleashed is not trying to show off that these people were inspired by Doctor Who. It's trying to say, are you inspired by Doctor Who? Do you want to get into the industry? Do you want to work on this programme? Well, here is all the different jobs you could do. B, how the jobs actually operate on a hands-on section. Here is Stephen Powell having a conversation with one of the back-in artists of one of the goblins to say what was it like being a goblin and how long were you in the costume, what was your job before this, what the work have you had, and all this. You don't get that bit. So Church of Ruby Road, and Stephen Powell's doing the amazing job, but has a conversation at one point with a goblin. So you keep hold of that information. When you look at Confidential, they didn't do much of that already, if you will, because there's no one hands-on, like no presenter there to go, right, I need to go and have a conversation with them to ask them about their job, to ask them about how the day's going and how they think they're doing with this job and how they got the job in the first place. And that's the difference. Your voiceover for Confidential works really well, but when you have an in-person presenter, they get more of a hand-on and they can ask the question they want to ask. They can do the thing they want to do. There's more freedom. There's more space for them. So looking back at Confidential, there are a lot of things that Confidential needed to improve to make it more in-depth than it currently already is. And this is what Unleashed has achieved. And Unleashed keeps elements of Confidential, but is trying its hardest to say, look, the industry needs more people. We're excited for new talent. We want new people. So here's how you do the world of TV, and it's incredible. Both programs are amazing in their own rights, but one, which is Confidential, Unleashed is better than Confidential because of Unleashed being more in depth than Confidential ever was. So there you have it. That is a comparison between the two. Now, earlier in the video I mentioned the connection between Doctor Who and Blue Peter, and I was going to mention a wild new invention that I am currently trying to work out the best way to go about doing it. So there was a documentary across two DVDs, two different DVDs might I add, the DVD extra called Who Peter. Who Peter was one of the people who worked on it was Chris Chapman. So Who Peter was a documentary all about how Doctor Who and Blue Peter have always been connected over the last few years when that was filmed. Now, because it's a documentary wrote by Doctor Who and Blue Peter, I thought to myself, well, I have a Doctor Who YouTube channel, Tom Mason. I have a Blue Peter YouTube channel. Here's one I made earlier. So what do? Well, I'm going to be reviewing both of them, but I'm going to be reviewing the Who Peter in more of a Doctor Who element first on this channel. And that exact same review is going to be lifted off this channel and plunked on there, but with a twist. Before the title sequence plays, so before we play in the video that will have people that are watching this channel, rather than that channel will have already seen, will get a repeat. But before the title sequence will be a long length review of the Blue Peter heavy side. So talk about the Blue Peter side and go, and now, please enjoy the Doctor Who side of this that was previously uploaded on Tom Mason, still available there, roll intro, then the intro will play, and then that will come in. So it'll be a long video, probably like 30-40 minutes, but I'll probably talk about for 12-13 minutes about the Blue Peter side, and we'll have already talked about 10-20 minutes about the Doctor Who side, so it'll be a lengthy video, but it'll be a fun video nonetheless, because it'll be a shorter video on the main channel that is of them, because it's like, here's the other side of it, but here's also here's a balance of both sides for my Blue Peter viewers. This one happened for a while due to me trying to work out the best way of doing it. The best way, whether or not the way I've explained to you now is actually the best way of doing it. I don't know personally if it is, we'll just have to find out. So, anyway guys, thank you guys for watching. Bye. I'm going to head off this way. So Confidential and Unleashed are both incredible, and if you're in the UK, they're both available on the iPlayer. If you're around the world, I think Bits of Confidential are available on DVDs, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be. And I know that Unleashed is going to become available when Series 14 concludes, both releasing on iPlayer at midnight here in the UK and airing in its 6 o'clock slot here in the UK. So, thank you guys for watching. Ciao, Talent. Bye!
Don't forget to subscribe to the official Tom Mason YouTube channel.